Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Wrestling Podcast, because if I have a wrestling podcast, I get to do a pay-per-view review that nobody will watch. This is AEW, All Elite Wrestling Double or Nothing 2020 Unnecessary Casino Edition. And we're going to be starting off quick rundown of the pre-show, the buy-in. And there was one match that I got wrong. If you've been following this channel, hopefully you've seen my prediction video for this pay-per-view. And we're going to be going through this match by match and showing just how bad I am at that. The one match on the pre-show, Private Party versus the Best Friends in a number one contenders match for the AEW Tag Team titles. And I picked Private Party, so of course, Best Friends won. I am 0-1. Moving on now to the main show, we start off with something that is very on brand for AEW, and I really like it, even if it does technically take you out of the moment. We get a thank you message to what they're calling the first responders, what others are calling frontline workers or essential workers, basically saying, you give us hope that we're going to get through this. And this was done as a series of clips of close-up shots of wrestlers repeating these same lines. And there was no delineation between face and heel, good guy or bad guy, on this. This was all the wrestlers coming together as humans to say thank you to the people who are going to get us out of this. And a lot of people are going to hate that, but I loved it. First match on the actual show is the Casino Ladder Match. 9 participants, 2 start in the ring. Every so often, another one will enter. There's one mystery opponent. The first person to climb the ladder and grab what turns out to be an enormous poker chip is the winner, and gets the next title shot for the AEW Championship against whomever the champion may be. I predicted that TBD, to be determined, will be the winner of this match, and I predicted a debuting Drew Gulak for this position. Let's see how badly I screw that up as we go to the Casino Ladder Match. Well, it was half right. First of all, I loved almost everything in this match. I loved the very large clock on the screen from the hard camera view, so they weren't cheating on their time limits. I love it when wrestling companies don't cheat on their time limits. Save your lives for when you need them. Very good. I love that for the first half to 2/3 of this match, everybody who tried to climb the ladder at human speed. They were trying to get up there as fast as they could because they wanted to win. There was some of the very slow one rung at the time stuff, but that was after the match had been going for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Where it would make sense to do that. There was very little building of apparatus, and when it did happen, it usually backfired on the person doing it. Darby Allin trying to climb a ladder with a skateboard to crush the skateboard between Kazarian and another ladder. Kazarian slips off, and Darby winds up selling the leg for the rest of the match. Good stuff. Shows that doing the whole, building this complicated structure can backfire on you. And then, it wasn't Drew Gulak. It was about 3 of Drew Gulak. Cage shows up. And I say I was half right because Cage winds up climbing the ladder, grabbing the poker chip, and winning a future title shot. So I'm giving myself half credit for correctly predicting that it would be to be determined, picking up the victory here. A couple of things about Cage's performance. I normally hate when wrestlers just take a powder for half a match, but Cage found a way, or they found a way with Cage, to make him taking a powder make sense. As soon as he shows up and starts hurting everybody, the rest of the wrestlers realize, okay, if we want to have any chance in hell at this, we need to gang up on this guy. So they do so, and they bury him under 2 ladders, part of the crowd barricade, and a giant poker chip. This worked. It gave a really good excuse for why Cage was out a half of the match, and then it made Cage look really good when he basically threw all that stuff off of him, and you didn't even question why he didn't do that 5 minutes prior. The rest of the story with Cage is he's apparently the protege of the human suplex machine, Taz, and I know some old school ECW fans who are going to be very happy that Taz is back in action. Taz also doing the voiceover on Cage's entrance video when it says, "Who can stop the path of Cage?" Which admittedly is no beat me if you can, survive if I let you, but it works. The feud setup here was with Darby Allin, because Darby Allin on Dynamite had refused Taz's offer of mentorship. Cage apparently did not make such a refusal, and therefore Taz is allied with Cage and pissed at Darby Allin. I see a singles feud coming up very, very quickly. Also, a lot of fun with Orange Cassidy, with his whole gimmick of he doesn't know how a ladder match works. Literally going to the announcers and asking, "Hey, how do you win?" And not being able to figure out how to open the ladder. Never did open a ladder. Had to wait for somebody else to do it for him. And it was good. It was funny. I know a lot. Orange Cassidy is an acquired taste for a lot of people. I get that. I find him hilarious, and I know how good he is because I've watched him, or his alter ego, for almost 15 years now. Cage, you're Victor, and it's going to be Cage versus either Moxley or Mr. Brody Lee, which gives me credit, or gives me hope on my prediction of Moxley retaining his title later in the evening. Up next, what I picked to be, if this was a real pick'em contest, I'd have put all my points on this one. MJF versus Jungle Boy, and I am predicting MJF to come away with a quick victory. Sometimes David gets to make Goliath sell, even if he doesn't win the fight. This was a long back-and-forth match, pretty even, the general story being that MJF was underestimating Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy was taking advantage of this. But I kind of like that this was back and forth, and I like that while MJF did win, giving me my first fully correct prediction of the evening, it wasn't a case of domination. It was just barely squeaking by with a lucky roll-up, quite frankly. And a lot of people are not going to like this. They don't like that one of the top guys, the top future prospects in AEW, MJF, is having to sell for anybody, or anybody smaller than him. And one, MJF's not the only top prospect. Jungle Boy is too. And two, MJF's character is not a great wrestler. MJF is a loudmouth. He's with the possible exceptions of Chris Jericho and Jake the Snake Roberts, he's the best promo in AEW. But the whole point of a "I'm better than you and you know it" character is he's not that good. When he's in the ring, he can be beaten, especially if he doesn't have his heavy around him. And now, our next match this evening is for the TNT Championship. And before we get to the match, I would like to show you something. And I have one very simple question. AEW, what the fuck is this? Oh, and I don't mean Mike Tyson, though frankly seeing Mike Tyson with a gray beard is making me feel extremely old. That is one of the ugliest championships I have ever seen in my life. What have I told people about silver belts? They never ever look good. Red straps I can take or leave. Red straps can work. But this is a commemorative dinner plate. It's hideous. There is nothing there. There's a ribbon that says champion. There's the TNT logo that looks like it's been drawn on with a stencil. And a whole lot of empty space. This is ridiculously bad. Ugh. I've made better belts than this in video games. And I'm not a wrestling company with a billionaire family behind me. Anyway, the following contest is for the Piece of Tin Championship. I still can't say the name without laughing. Murder Hawk Monster versus the American Nightmare for that. At least they admit to their mistakes and they've got a fairly decent excuse for it. Okay, one of the first things JR tells us is that the belt is not finished. They were unable to get it completed because of the coronavirus. Fair enough. They say there's going to be gold plating added to the belt. So hopefully everything that's silver will soon be gold, except maybe the circle of the TNT logo. And hopefully they just add the AEW logo somewhat prominently. I think it's there, you just can't see it on the top of the belt. And maybe they'll be able to salvage this. But wow, it still looks terrible. I am going to reserve final judgment until I see the piece of art completed as it was intended to do. I think we just hit the wrestling equivalent of Release the Snyder Cut. As for the wrestling match, wrong again, ladies and gentlemen. Cody picking up the win here in really a two-phase match. The first half of the match, plus, was mostly Cody getting his ass kicked in multiple creative and entertaining ways, and then barely pulling himself back from the brink, and it takes, 3 patented Rhodes legacy moves, and then it takes 2 crossroads to finally put the murder to put Lance Archer away and win the TNT Championship and stand there with Mike Tyson, who did absolutely nothing except chase off Jake Roberts once. Why was Tyson there, and how much money did you pay him? I'm dead serious about that. This was apparently just a couple of weeks ago that Tyson was added, considering where they had to clearly ADR the dialogue on Dynamite and weren't making as big a deal out of Mike freaking Tyson as they should have. I just don't know if this added anything to the show. You could have had Bret Hart. You could have had anybody. Well, maybe not anybody because of travel restrictions, but you could have found someone famous to present the title. Maybe someone whose coolest days weren't 20 years ago? Yeah, he was there when Austin took off and D-Generation X and all that, but yeah, this was just a match that didn't live up to what it could have been. The title certainly hasn't lived up to what it could be yet. And Cody wins. Okay, Cody now has a title going forward. And Lance Archer has been defined down as someone that you don't even have to cheat to win against, really. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to rehab Lance Archer coming out of this. But Cody now has his mid-card title. Yay. Up next, we get a medical update on Dr. Britt Baker, who is a dentist, saying that she's got multiple problems with her leg. It's a very serious injury, but the doctor says, well, the biggest problem here is the patient. She's a real bitch. And we are replacing her in the women's non-title match against Chris Statlander. It will be the bad girl, super bad Penelope Ford, who was last seen interfering in the casino ladder match and getting dropped on top of her boyfriend off of a ladder by Orange Cassidy. By the way they did that, she got involved in the match. He defended himself when she went to punch him and then just let her go. So, no real man-on-woman violence there, and I thought that was actually really well done. I'm going to stick with my prediction. Chris Statlander to pull off the upset, and especially with a replacement opponent, definitely will still be an upset. But my prediction, you can hear that right there, my prediction is still Chris Statlander from the Andromeda Galaxy. Well, I was right. Yay! Chris Statlander picks up the victory in a match that was just kind of there. Never really got out of first gear, let alone second gear. I think this is supposed to be a breather before we get to the main events. The last, oh god, how many matches more? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is kind of like a midpoint of the show breather match. Which, as high hopes as we had to the AEW women's division, we are now at a position where they're pulling the old "you're the popcorn" match, if there was anyone selling popcorn in the building, and that is not good. This is the only non-title women's match on the show, and so far, if you have to cut anything for time, this is the first thing that goes bye-bye. Honestly, if Britt Baker, who is a dentist, hadn't been able to perform, and they just say Chris Statlander wins by default, see the update in the rankings for how this shakes out, you wouldn't have lost anything. Up next, we've got Shawn Spears, the chairman, versus the natural Dustin Rhodes, who apparently nobody has seen in a couple of weeks, and we're not even sure if he's going to show up to the building. Hype. Well, as they say in all the best pantomimes, look behind you. Yeah, okay, I was expecting an actual match here, not shtick. This was mostly shtick. Spears comes out in a suit, pretends to play Dustin's music in order to troll the fans, and then Dustin's music starts to play again. Brandy comes out to get her screen time for the night, and Dustin sneaks into the ring behind Shawn Spears, beats him up for a few minutes, strips him down to his underwear, and frankly shows more of his bare ass than I really wanted to see. And apparently he's got Tully Blanchard on the crotch of his black boxer briefs, so it kind of looks like his penis is hanging out. Didn't need to see that. Can't show you pictures of any of that. Don't want to try it. And Dustin wins in quick, decisive fashion. So I was completely wrong, but again, I was expecting a wrestling match. And there's no way to make a smooth transition to this. We see an in memoriam graphic to Kimura Hana, who passed away just yesterday. The exact details of her death are being withheld, as is customary in Japan when a celebrity or someone of note passes away. The details of the death are considered, for the most part, private, especially in cases, as I suspect now, of suicide. I had the extreme privilege of seeing Kimura Senshu wrestle in the Tokyo Dome as part of an untelevised World Ring Stardom dark match, tag team match. She was on the losing side of that contest, but what I saw of her, she was a talented young wrestler, 22 years of age, may have been, not sure when her birthday was, so may have only been 21 at the time, and I thought all four of the women in that match were talented and had what it took to be big stars, and it was a major moment for her professional career. The first women's match to take place on a Wrestle Kingdom, certainly, possibly in New Japan history. Since then, she has appeared on a Japanese reality program called Terrace House, which is essentially the Japanese version of Big Brother. A group of people with personalities share a house while everybody watches them and commentators make fun of them. Apparently, and again, this is all speculation and rumor that I've had to sort of piece together looking into this story, Kimura has dealt with a lot of bullying, a lot of cyberbullying, a lot of crap on social media because she is an outspoken, vibrant, colorful woman in a culture that, frankly, doesn't respect that and doesn't want that in its women often. So she got a lot of crap that she didn't deserve, and while nothing has been officially confirmed, it is quite possible that this has driven her to take her own life. Words matter, people. Words that you say on the internet matter. And unfortunately, I do have a transition to the next match. From one person who's taken a lot of crap online for being who she is, to another woman who's taken a lot of undeserved crap online for being who she is, and that is the AEW Joshi champion, Nyla Rose. She defends her title against Hikaru Shida. Damn. Well, Nyla Rose has lost the women's championship to Hikaru Shida, and I know from an overall perspective that was the correct decision, but I really didn't want Nyla to lose. I can't say I disagree with the decision to change the title, all things considered, especially with maybe it was important to have a Joshi wrestling champion at the moment, and I completely understand that if that was part of the motivation. I take solace in the fact that it took a hardcore match, essentially, no count out, no disqualification, everything goes, to beat Nyla, and hopefully she can come back from this and will become the first ever, hopefully, two-time Joshi champion of All Elite Wrestling. As for the match itself, I was not interested in half of these characters. They have done nothing to tell us who Hikaru Shida is, why she fights, why we should support her. We did get a very nice promo package from her. While her grammar is not perfect and her pronunciation could use a little bit of work, and I know exactly why she's making the mistakes that she is, her English is excellent. And unfortunately, all we got was, this is what Joshi wrestling is, this is what Japanese wrestling is, and because it's a hard time in the world right now, the best thing I can do as a wrestler is win the championship. What? Well, that makes you off as a kind of a selfish prick, doesn't it? Again, I don't know who she is, I don't know why she fights, I don't know why I'm supposed to root for her, especially against Nyla. And again, I know Nyla's supposed to be the heel. I just don't care. So that was a major problem, is that they were trying to tell a story that I wasn't interested in. But on the other side of it, I don't like hardcore matches. They're lazy. They're usually pretty bad, and they're usually used as an excuse to either cover for deficiencies of a certain wrestler or to get you out of a match or get you out of a finish that you booked yourself into a corner with. And I think that's kind of what happened here. I get that they wanted to switch the title. I don't know how recent a decision that was, quite frankly. They needed an excuse for Hikaru Shida to beat Nyla, and this was it. You know, lots and lots of weapon shots, lots and lots of smashing through things, and lots and lots and lots and lots of running high knees. The Ichioku knee lift. I genuinely don't know what I thought about this match because I was watching a match they weren't putting on. Anyway, we're coming up now to our double main event. I fucking hate that term. And we're starting off with the World Championship match as Jon Moxley defends his title against Mr. Brody Lee. I have got Moxley to win this, especially with Cage as the next challenger. I think there's a lot more money in Cage Moxley than in Cage Lee. So, here we go. Let's go Moxley, I guess. I love the detail work in this match. First of all, having the line of security guards to keep the combatants away from each other before the bell rings, that was a nice touch. The eyes. We've known for a while that Brody Lee has had great expression in his eyes. And he told so many stories without a word in this match. And Moxley's pretty good at the facials as well. Facials top notch from both of these guys throughout the whole thing. Again, a worthy opponent storyline with Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is a character, the people's champion, the working class warrior, that has to have... He can't dominate actual challengers. He can dominate in non-title matches, but he has to be overcoming the odds every single time. That's just maybe a limitation, maybe just an aspect of his character. And that's what happened here. The Dark Order did not make themselves known. There was no run-in from 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2 Uno. There was just the one-on-one. Maybe that was supposed to be Brody Lee being a McMahon level of overconfidence. I don't know. Maybe that was a logistics issue. They couldn't find enough guys in the masks. But as it stood, the match was pretty good. The one thing that I thought it was a little bit weak with, this was now the third or fourth match that has been a de facto hardcore match. And that means that by the time they got to the last big spot of the match, which was Moxley giving the paradigm shift double underhook DDT to Brody Lee through the entrance, which, you know, okay, good thing this was the last match in the ring, because you just destroyed the entrance to the ring. It didn't mean too much. It looked almost comical the way their boots were sticking out of the thing. If we hadn't seen so many smash through the props, smash through the furniture spots throughout the rest of the show, this would have meant a hell of a lot more. But yay for blading, I guess, as Brody Lee comes up with a big cut on his forehead. And that leads pretty directly to a non-submission referee stoppage victory for Jon Moxley, who reclaims his belt, and all is right with the world. And I actually got a prediction correct. Haven't been doing that a lot. We get a commercial for the new action figure line, followed by a transition, basically a highlight reel of the entire show while they set up everything in the stadium. And we're starting with player introductions, it looks like. We have Jacksonville Jaguar cheerleaders and the drum line, and even the mascot shows up as part of the cross-branding. And I love how everybody has the AEW face masks on. That's actually a really nice touch. This is your main event of the evening. It is a Stadium Stampede match. What is a Stadium Stampede match? Your guess is as good as mine. Apparently it's falls count anywhere in the stadium, and presumably maybe it's an elimination match, maybe it's one fall to a finish. I have no idea, but we'll eventually find out. That was stupid. That was really, really, really stupid. But you know what? That was a fun stupid. That was not professional wrestling. That was a complete farce. That was... How did you go from blood and guts, that is basically War Games, only we can't call it that, to this? I've seen Shikara shows that have devolved into dance-offs and dodgeball matches. And they weren't this freaking dumb. You know what? I laughed my ass off the whole time. Oh boy, I know nothing about American rules football. I've attended a few games where all of which I was paid to be at. Not very much, but I was paid to be there. And I still only caught about half the references here. But wow, this was really, really, really dumb. But oh god. And I want to know, how did Matt Hardy get the water from the Lake of Reincarnation into the swimming pool at the stadium. Also, American football stadiums have swimming pools now? When the hell did that happen? Oh god. Okay. So yeah, I should have realized what this was, and I never should have picked the Inner Circle to win this. Of course they're gonna end on a high note. But okay. Positives. It was really funny. It was really interesting. A lot of it made sense. A lot of it was really cool. It was the Matt Hardy stuff. We got a new Matt fact, or matter of fact, for the first time in a decade plus. We got the return of Vanguard 1 as the natural electronic object or something like that. NEO organism, natural electronic organism. That was good. The horse was funny. Watching Sammy Guevara run, watching the run down the steps to make the splash that should have been the end of the match. That was fun. The whole, are you here to drink or are you here to fight? What's the difference? All the stuff in the bar, corny, stupid, dumb, ripped off from every bad Western you've ever seen, but still funny. And in the end, there weren't that many negatives. The biggest negative, and this is actually getting serious for a moment. We had the Alex Wright dance. We had Das Wunderdance. They did Das Wunderdance in 2020. Jesus Christ. This place really is the second coming of WCW, isn't it? Bleh. Oh, stupid. Joy to the stupid. Okay, seriously though. Couple of negatives about this. One, this is now, I think, 4 matches on the show that were default no DQ hardcore crap. And 3 matches in a row. The Nyla Rose Hikaru Shida match was no DQ, no count out, which is hardcore basically. The World's title match turned into that because that's the only type of match Moxley wants to do, I'm guessing. And they had the excuse of, well, the referee's going to have a long whistle in a world title match, garbage. That works for Lucha Underground. That doesn't work for if you're supposed to be the major leagues of professional wrestling. And now we have the Stadium Stampede. So you're basically doing the same match 3 matches in a row after you already did a ladder match earlier. So the fact that this ended with, once again, somebody getting a finishing move through a conveniently breakable piece of furniture, there was this moment of, oh god, again? So, yeah, that was not a good way to end this. I would have just ended it off with a big stupid splash. But, you know, they were not booking this to make sense. They were booking this for everybody to have fun. The Elite stand tall, apparently united, no progress on the overall story there. And that's the end of the show. Final thoughts. First of all, I completely screwed the pooch on this one. I got 1, 2, 3 matches right, and a half match for the ladder match, because I did predict mystery entrant to win this. I just got the guy wrong. And doing a little quick wrestle math, this gives me a winning record of 38.8%. Fail. As for the show itself, final grade C+. Best I can give it. Most of the matches, the stories they were telling simply weren't that interesting. The action was good. It was not great. They did the best they could with the limited resources that they had. And I'm going to give them an extra bonus half a grade for the stupidity of the Stadium Stampede being legitimately funny. And let's bump this up to a B-. That was what this was. This was a B- show. Thanks for watching. This has been The Last Wrestling Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, enable notifications. We're coming up on the build to the season finale of the Animated Wrestling League, so check that out each and every week. And until the next time I decide to sit through one of these 3.5 hour plus wrestling shows, catchphrase sign off. Good God, that was an ugly belt.